Imagine a rule book so incredibly precise that it tells you exactly which foot to use first when you're putting your shoes on in the morning.
Right, like a literal step-by-step manual.
Yeah, exactly. A manual that dictates you have to throw your leftover meat bones onto the dirt rather than into the water.
Yeah.
And it even gives you this physical de-escalation protocol for what to do the exact second you feel road rage bubbling up.
It's wild. It completely reframes the whole concept of just, existing in the world.
It really does. So today, we are looking at this centuries-old blueprint that maps out virtually every micro-interaction of a human day. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We have a genuinely fascinating stack of source materials today regarding Islamic traditions. We're pulling from, well, transcripts of lectures by religious scholars, specifically Sheikh Asim al-Hakim.
Right, very detailed lecture.
Yeah, and we've got these massive, exhaustive compilation texts, like literal lists of up to 100 daily habits.
Which is a lot to process.
It is. And just to keep things interesting, we also have this strangely fleeting, almost accidental audio snippet in Italian about Easter greetings that somehow just made its way into the pile.
Yeah, that was quite the eclectic edition, honestly.
Right. But our mission today is to sift through all of this, because we aren't just reading a list of religious rules or, theological doctrine.
Yeah, not at all. We're looking at the application of it.
Exactly. We are decoding the Sunnah, which refers to the traditions, practices, and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad. We want to explore how these ancient 7th century practices actually serve as this highly structured framework for extreme mindfulness, empathy, and, well, what modern tech executives would probably call biohacking.
Biohacking, yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack this.
So, to truly understand the daily habits, like those mundane micro-interactions we'll get into, we first have to establish the strict philosophy behind the Sunnah itself.
Because it's not just a loose set of suggestions, is it?
No, it is a highly guarded, incredibly precise system. And the texts provide a perfect case study to illustrate this. We're looking at the Friday prayer, which is known as Juma.
Yeah, in the lecture transcripts, there's this massive discussion about people wanting to pray extra before the Friday congregation actually begins.
Right, and the scholar is completely unyielding about this.
He really is. He states emphatically that you do not pray a prescribed Sunnah prayer before the Friday sermon. Like, the Prophet didn't do it, so you don't do it.
Exactly. And the historical context here is vital for understanding why people get so confused by this today.
Because it is confusing for a modern worshiper, right?
Totally. Because if you go to a mosque on a Friday now, you'll typically hear two calls to prayer, two adhans.
Right. So there's a gap between them.
Yes. And because there is a gap between the first call and the second call, the modern worshiper naturally thinks, oh, I have free time, I should pray.
Which makes sense logically.
It does. But during the Prophet's time, there was only one adhan. The imam would walk in, sit down, the call would be made, and the sermon would start immediately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was zero physical time to pray beforehand.
Okay, so wait, where did the second call even come from then? If the system is so incredibly strict, how did a whole new element just get added?
Right, so it was actually an administrative solution. It was introduced much later by Uthman, who was one of the Prophet's companions and a later leader.
Okay.
See, the city of Medina had transformed from this tight-knit village into a sprawling, bustling metropolis.
It was just huge.
Huge and noisy. People were deep in the markets and literally couldn't hear the single call from the mosque. So Uthman introduced an earlier call in the marketplace just as a warning bell.
Oh, I see. Like a practical alarm clock just telling people to close up shop.
Exactly. It wasn't a religious addition meant to create a new window for worship. It was purely administrative.
Okay, my modern Western brain is really, really struggling with this strictness.
I get that. It goes against how we usually think.
It does. We are conditioned to believe that extra credit is always good. Like if someone is standing in a mosque and they feel this surge of spirituality and just want to pray a few extra units to connect with God, why does this framework actively penalize those good intentions?
It feels restrictive, right?
Yeah, to me, it's like baking a delicate souffle or writing computer code.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. If you're building an app, you can't just add random lines of code because you have good intentions.
Nope, the code won't compile.
Exactly. If you introduce rogue code, the whole program just crashes.
What's fascinating here is the theological burden of proof. I mean, in Islam, the religion is considered entirely completed
Yes.
and perfected.
The blueprint is totally finished.
Yes. So in your worldly life, Business, technology, food, everything is generally permissible unless there's a specific rule against it.
Okay.
But in matters of worship, the formula is entirely flipped. You don't need evidence to avoid doing something. You need evidence to introduce something new.
Wow, so the burden of proof is totally on you. And the scholar explicitly addresses people who try to argue with him on this.
Oh yeah, he doesn't hold back.
Not at all. They come to him and say, bring me a text that explicitly says I cannot pray these extra 4 units before Jimma, and he just shuts them down.
Right, because they have it backward.
Yeah, he says, no, you are the one introducing a new action to a completed religion. The burden of proof is on you to bring the evidence that it is permissible. Good intentions just don't validate an action if it steps outside the blueprint.
Which creates a really fascinating paradox if you think about it.
How so?
Well, the theological boundary around core religious practices is incredibly rigid, like we just said,
Yeah.
uncompromising. But when we look at how that rigid framework applies to everyday life, it produces a system that is incredibly fluid.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's highly empathetic and deeply attuned to human frailty.
Okay, let's definitely shift into those daily habits then, because that contrast is what makes this whole thing so interesting.
It really is the core of it all.
Right. Inside this unyielding container is a very granular, actionable breakdown of what it means to just be a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
Pulling from those massive lists of 30 and 100 sunnahs, the baseline requirement, like the absolute minimum, is smiling.
Just a simple smile.
Yeah. The text specifically warns against walking around with a grumpy philosophical face unless there's an absolute emergency.
I love that phrase, grumpy philosophical face, because we often view deep, brooding thought as a sign of, like, intelligence or seriousness.
Right, like you're pondering the universe.
Exactly. But the Sunnah completely rejects that. It frames a pleasant, approachable demeanor as a fundamental social right that you owe to the people around you.
Wow, you owe it to them.
Yeah, you literally don't have the right to project your internal stress onto the public sphere.
But if the baseline is a pleasant face, I'm genuinely curious how a system this controlled handles the messy, volatile reality of human emotion.
Because we aren't robots.
Right. We all get furious. If you're listening to this on your commute and someone cuts you off in traffic, you can't just slap a philosophical smile over genuine rage.
No, and the texts acknowledge that raw emotion perfectly. They provide an actual physical de-escalation protocol.
A protocol for anger.
Yes. The Sunnah doesn't demand you simply stop being mad, which, let's be honest, is psychologically impossible.
Totally impossible.
Instead, it dictates physical shifts. If you are angry and you're standing, you must sit down.
Oh, because sitting down physically alters the state of your nervous system.
Exactly.
You are forcibly changing your heart rate and your center of gravity.
And if you're sitting and the rage is still just burning, the Sunnah says you must lie down.
Wow, just lie flat on the ground.
Yep. And if that fails, you go perform wudu, which is the ritual washing with water, to physically cool the body down.
That is so specific.
It goes even further. There is a specific historical mention of a companion being told to go roll in the dirt or soil to kill off anger.
Wait, roll in the dirt? The psychological friction of that is amazing.
Yeah. Right. Just imagine doing that.
Think about the last time you were in a heated argument. Your blood is pumping, your ego is towering, you feel entirely justified in your anger.
You feel totally in the right.
Yeah. So to literally drop to the floor and touch the soil requires you to physically lower yourself beneath your opponent.
It's the ultimate submission of your ego.
You are putting yourself in the most vulnerable, humbling position possible. It totally short-circuits the brain. Like, you cannot maintain a screaming match while actively lying in the dust.
You really can't. Anger is ultimately an emotion of elevation. You feel wronged, so you elevate yourself above the person who insulted you.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
So lying on the ground forces an ego death. It's a profound psychological reset disguised as just a simple physical action.
Speaking of profound psychological resets like rolling in the dirt, this is probably a good time to bring up the item in our source pile that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have to bring up the random audio snippet in Italian. Amidst all these deep theological texts and complex psychological protocols, we receive this tiny audio file.
The infamous Italian translation snippet.
Yes, it roughly translates to, many times you say bye-bye courtesy, greet my sister at Easter.
It seems completely out of place at first glance. I mean, totally bizarre.
I was baffled when I read the transcript, but looking closely at the Sunnah's rules on social interaction, It actually provides a perfect contrast.
How so?
Well, basic courtesies like saying ciao ciao, greeting someone's sister for a holiday, these are universal human concepts.
Right, every culture has polite greetings.
Exactly. But the Sunnah takes those basic cultural habits and elevates them to actual spiritual mandates.
Oh, absolutely. It removes the concept of casual politeness entirely.
It makes it mandatory.
Yes, in this framework, your salvation and your spiritual standing are directly tied to how you treat the person sitting across from you.
That's in
It is. The sources detail the specific sunnah of conversation. For instance, you never interrupt. But more than that, when someone is speaking to you, you don't just turn your head or glance over your shoulder. You turn your entire torso to face them.
Oh, wow. So you are giving them your complete physical presence. It
Exactly.
is the ultimate form of active listening. And this was centuries before corporate management seminars started teaching it as a hack for better communication.
Yeah, they were a bit ahead of the curve there. And it applies to greetings, too.
Right.
The text states the sunnah is to actively try to be the first person to say hello. It breaks down any hierarchy of age or status.
So the boss says hello to the intern first.
Ideally, yes.
Mm.
And crucially, you are instructed to add an extra word to a greeting to make it warmer than the one you received.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right. If someone says, "Peace be upon you," the mandated reply is, "Peace be upon you and the mercy of God."
So you are essentially commanded to leave the interaction in a slightly better state than you found it.
That's the perfect way to summarize it.
So if the sunnah dictates how we handle our internal rage and how we treat the person right in front of us, I'm really curious how far that empathy extends.
Oh, it goes much further.
Because reading through this 100 habit list, the rules don't stop at human interaction. They literally bleed out into the physical ecosystem.
The eating habits are where this expansion of empathy really becomes visible.
Yeah, the text outlines a very strict rule for meals. When you eat, you must leave 1/3 of your stomach for food, 1/3 for water, and leave 1/3 completely empty for air.
Just empty.
You are explicitly told never to eat until you are completely stuffed. Furthermore, you're supposed to eat the food that falls from your plate onto the table and literally lick your fingers and your plate clean at the end of the meal to ensure zero waste.
Which forces a radical shift in how we view consumption.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It doesn't even stop at the plate.
Right, the bones.
Yes, the text specifically notes that if you are eating meat on the bone, you shouldn't throw the leftover bones into a body of water. You are supposed to throw them onto the land.
And the reason for that is so specific.
Right. The explicit reason given is so that stray cats and dogs can still smell and taste the remaining meat.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you realize this isn't just early dietary advice or primitive environmentalism.
What is it then?
It is about systematically dismantling human arrogance.
Wait, but how does licking a plate or standing in the rain, which is another habit on the list, strip away the ego?
Well, think about how we eat today.
To a modern ear, leaving exactly 1/3 of your stomach empty just sounds like a trendy fasting diet, and licking your plate sounds eccentric.
True, but in the modern world, living food on your plate is a subtle flex of abundance. It signals that you have so much you don't even need to finish it.
Oh, that is so true. I never thought about it like that.
Right, so licking the plate clean is an acknowledgement of dependence. You're admitting that you rely on that provision, and you aren't somehow above eating a stray grain of rice.
That makes a lot of sense. What about the 1/3 rule?
The 1/3 rule manages your physiological energy. If you stuff yourself, your body diverts all its energy to digestion, and you become sluggish and useless to your community.
Oh, you just want to take a nap.
Exactly. By leaving a third empty, you remain alert and capable.
And throwing the bones in the land serves that same purpose of dismantling arrogance.
Yeah.
We tend to view the earth as just a backdrop for our human drama. Like we think we are separate from it.
But we aren't.
Right. The Sunnah says you share this space with the street dogs and the cats. You are part of an interconnected web.
Yeah, the text even mentions planting trees as an ongoing charity.
Oh, a sadaqah jariyah, right.
Yes, because long after you're dead, an animal might eat the fruit, or a traveler might rest in the shade, and that continues to benefit your soul.
It constantly forces you to confront your true size in the universe.
It really does.
Taking off your shoes to occasionally walk barefoot on the soil, or purposely standing outside to let the rain touch your exposed skin.
Uh-huh.
These are visceral, physical reminders that you belong to the earth, not the other way around.
Very grounding practices.
Literally. So we've established this incredible baseline of everyday mindfulness. But human beings are notoriously bad at maintaining discipline.
Oh, absolutely. We slip up all the time.
So what happens when this entire system is put under extreme stress? The sources dive deeply into Ramadan, which acts as a massive physiological and psychological pressure cooker.
It really is. Fasting from dawn to sunset naturally makes people tired, hungry, and prone to irritability.
Angry, basically.
Yes, hangry. It tests whether these habits of smiling, avoiding anger, and showing empathy can survive when your body is running on empty.
The specific mechanics of how the sun manages that physical deprivation are fascinating.
They are very precise.
Let's look at the suhoor, the pre-dawn meal. The scholar is adamant that you cannot just eat a massive supper at 9 p.m., go to sleep, and wake up the next morning to fast.
Right, you can't just skip it.
The sunnah is to delay that pre-dawn meal until the absolute last possible moment. He quotes a companion of the Prophet who noted that the exact time between finishing the suhoor meal and the dawn call to prayer was just long enough to recite 50 verses of the Quran.
That 50-verse window acts as a highly precise, natural timer.
Which isn't very long, right?
No, it's a very short amount of time, perhaps 10 or 15 minutes.
And on the other end of the day, when the sun finally sets, the sunnah is to break the fast immediately. You don't wait for the entire call to prayer to finish echoing through the city.
No waiting around.
The second the sun crosses the horizon, you eat. And specifically, you break it with ripe dates. If you lack ripe dates, dry dates. If you don't have those, just water.
The scholar actually points out that waiting around to show off how pious you are by fasting an extra 10 minutes actively violates the sunnah.
But if the goal is spiritual discipline, why this hyper-specific timing?
It's a good question.
Like, if I'm fasting anyway, why wouldn't I just eat a huge dinner, sleep through the night, and skip the pre-dawn meal entirely so I don't have to interrupt my sleep? Waking up in the middle of the night just to eat a meal 50 verses before dawn seems exhausting.
It seems counterintuitive, right? But it actually proves that the framework is deeply protective of the human body.
Protective. How so?
Delaying the pre-dawn meal until the last possible second and hastening to break the fast at sunset minimizes the total hours your body is without fuel.
Oh, so you're shrinking the fasting window as much as legally possible.
Exactly. It stabilizes your blood sugar and ensures you have the late nourishment required to function properly during the day. The Sunnah forbids turning religion into an endurance sport or a self-destructive contest of piety.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a delicate balance between rigorous spiritual discipline and essential physiological care.
You aren't supposed to destroy yourself to prove your faith. And while you are fiercely protecting your physical state, your psychological state is pushed toward an extreme outward focus.
Yes, especially during Ramadan.
The texts note that while the Prophet was already known as the most generous of people, during Ramadan, specifically after reviewing the Quran with the angel Jibril, his charity multiplied exponentially.
The description there is amazing.
He was described as being more generous than the blowing wind.
More generous than the blowing wind. It is one of the most evocative metaphors in the texts.
It really paints a picture.
Think about how the wind operates. It doesn't discriminate. It blows through the affluent neighborhoods and the slums equally.
Right.
It cools the plants, the animals, and the people without checking their status or their worthiness. That is the exact mechanism of charity the Sunnah demands during high-pressure times. Your generosity must become an uncontained environmental force.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. If you are commuting or walking your dog or just sitting at your desk right now, what does this massive stack of 7th century habits and rules actually mean for you today?
It's a template, really.
Exactly. Whether you belong to a faith tradition or consider yourself entirely secular, the texts we reviewed offer an undeniable masterclass in living deliberately.
Deliberate is the perfect word.
We are talking about a daily existence where you are acutely conscious of which foot you use to cross the threshold of a room, and where you possess the mental fortitude to physically drop to the floor when your ego tries to drag you into a shouting match.
Because true knowledge is applied knowledge.
Right.
We can analyze the historical context of Uthman's extra call to prayer or debate the theological boundaries of a completed religion all day. But the actual power of these sources lies in their application.
How it actually looks in practice.
Right. They take grand, abstract concepts like empathy and sustainability and map them onto the easily forgotten moments of a Tuesday afternoon.
The little things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How you drink a glass of water, how you turn your shoulders when someone speaks to you, how you treat the stray animals in your neighborhood.
It takes the profoundly mundane and treats it as sacred. You aren't just passing time, you are curating an ecosystem around yourself.
I love that.
So we want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to explore on your own today. Think about your current daily routines and the people you interact with. If you had to write your own personal sunnah, a strict, non-negotiable manual for your tiny, daily micro-interactions, entirely designed to leave the people and the environment around you feeling just 1% better after crossing your path, what would be your very first rule?